to do a few things. But you're coming directly from Abuja. You're part of the team for the Labour Party that met with the Inec chairman and leadership today. So I think that's a fantastic place to start. In terms of this conversation around inspection of election materials, sort of this back and forth between Inec and Labour, what's the latest?
So you're having an exclusive interview from the person who was on the ground. Anyway, the truth about it is that we understand that INEC was picking and choose the judgment in which it will follow. Remember that our judgment came in early enough, from 3rd to 6th of March. And then it was expressly stated by the court that we are being given the mandate to inspect the electoral material prior to the provisions of the Constitution. Then, all of a sudden, INEC went to court.
Countersued.
To countersued. But really, in a more democratic situation, INEC or the court wouldn't have listened to INEC until when it had carried out its first order. But unfortunately, it listened to INEC, and then it granted INEC at the same time that INEC can reconfigure the beavers. And interestingly also, while INEC was trying to say they can reconfigure the beavers, we still find the same suit asking the court to give us that particular or re-echo this position that we have the right now to actually inspect the material. Interestingly, the court now said, no, we cannot abuse the process of court because already they have granted us that particular. So you see, the court has already known his mandate ab initio. We expected that the court should have even reminded INEC that, have you carried out the first initial order that we granted? And if INEC then did not, and they should explain why they did not, or rather they would have charged them for the contempt of courts. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So we now thought it most importantly and expediently that we must take this particular issue to the public domain. Constitutionally, we have the right to protest when we are not satisfied with the processes in which the election situation has taken us to. And that was exactly what we did 3 days ago when I addressed the press, citing the part of this particular constitutional provision based on the provision of the INEC provision that INEC has flouted its own rule and they are denying us the access to actually inspect those particular material. So we had it as of yesterday. INEC now granted that we can't visit them today to actually inspect those particular material. Graciously, the INEC chairman himself received the 60-man team of lawyers that visited the INEC. I'm fortunate to be part of that particular team as a chief spokesman of the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council. Well, that was exactly what happened today. Maybe you may want to ask further, what happened within us, within the INEC? And
so we're going to go there, but I find something you said interesting, that the INEC chairman said Labour can come and inspect the machines. We're talking about 186,000 beavers machines. I don't understand what kind of inspection would have been done from early morning till now that would satisfy. So take us through what happened in the meeting, what that inspection really entails for Labour.
Based on the provisions of the Electoral Act and then the pronouncement by the court, we are being given the opportunity to inspect. Inspection means that we can sample the positions of some of the usage of the material that was used to form our own opinion on what we will present at the court. But the most important thing is that we have a first information of actually seeing this machine from a legal point of view and examining them whether they conform with the provisions of the Electoral Act and what INEC said it wants to do and make sure that we have a clear-cut election. That, of course, for every Nigerian, we have seen it, that actually INEC flaunt its own position of the law. So here, the processes have started. INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakub, graciously availed us with the opportunity of welcoming the legal team, and he said, and I quote, that we in INEC will give you every document that you require to help you in executing your own case in the court, based on the provisions of the law, because we are a law-abiding organization. And that word actually resonated with the minds of our legal team, that he said everything that we require. He did not say certain things. Everything that we require, being the law has given us the opportunity to actually inspect all the electoral materials as provided by the law.
Okay, so in that same meeting, he's quoted as saying INEC has nothing to hide. And as you said, documents available at the headquarters will also be given immediately. We are meeting with resident electoral commissioners today, and we will discuss how other documents at the state level can also be made available to you speedily. So nothing to hide, but it has seemed to be a very difficult situation for Labour to get to this point with INEC. What is the party hoping to find with the BVAS machines or with the election materials?
Well, there are contraptions and the contradiction in some of the results that has taken place on the 25th of February, i.e., it is clear to us that we have our election result that was signed by agent of the INEC, the representative of INEC and our own agent nationwide. And at the same time, we also know clearly that at the point in which INEC has promised Nigerians that there will be transmission of this result in real time, there were 3 elections that took place on that day. Federal House of Rep, the Senate, and then the presidency. Unfortunately, Federal House of Rep and Senate results were uploaded on real time. That of the presidency was completely blacked out on the first day, while other results were going on. And that, of course, is a red flag for us. And we don't know what happened within that particular period where there were glitches that happened. The problem is that glitches did not happen when they were uploading the Federal House of Rep, the Senate. It only happened when they were supposed to upload that of the presidency. That means there's a question mark as regard to what must have transpired within that particular period. And that is the reason why we believe that we are just being allocated result on the presidential election, not on the state, not on the federal level or the state, federal House of Reps or the Senate. Because a lot of people are saying that why would we accept the result of the federal House of Reps and Senate and then deny that of the Senate? They are not in the same thing. And then let me make this particular point clear. In anybody that is in doubt, many of the people who run election under the for federal House of Reps and Senate run with the popularity of Peter Obi. This is not to say that we're taking anything out of the context that they too have their own popularity in a way. I want to assure Nigerians, anywhere you see any member of the Federal House of Reps or Senate that have won election, you can be rest assured Peter Obi got double of that particular result of that particular Senate.
And eventually you will have to prove those kind of things.
Of course, that's exactly why we are inspecting those particular materials and at the same time going to court with the result that we have.
Okay, so let's talk about trust, because there's an issue of trust here. The Labour Party has this permission now to inspect these machines, but also INEC has the permission to reconfigure. And INEC says this reconfiguration will be ready by Tuesday for the governorship elections coming up on Saturday. But the Commission has also assured the Labour Party that the information on the BVAS machine will be backed up for inspection, and had also promised that all documents will also be made available. So, from your meeting today with the INEC chairman and, of course, the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission, are you reassured? The trust that you're doubting, because this is the same agency, this is the same system that oversaw these elections that you're contesting at the presidential level, at least, that is asking you to also trust it to be able to keep the information you need to go to court with and then move forward with the process that will lead us to elections on Saturday. Well,
you see, for me, I have a little doubt. My doubt is that the fact that for transparency and accountability, when the court has given them the mandate to actually reconfigure this particular machine, the owners of getting the trust of the Nigerian people, especially those who are supposed to be the agent or representative of the different political parties, interestingly here, the so-called political party who have won the election too also apply to inspect these particular materials. So in that case, it could have been seemingly easy for INEC to say, we have been given this particular mandate by the court, then we are inviting your technical team to come and see how we back up this particular information. That way there's no hidden agenda, just like as the chairman has said, so that we will be assured that that particular document that they are backing up actually are information that comes from the BVAS machine itself. Because you see, the BVAS machine is not a creation of another individual. It's a scientific creation that almost all of us have in our hands. And this particular thing that we have in our hands is just like your phone. And your phone simply means that if you have a data that you've already stored in that particular phone, you can only keep it aside and then input another one into it. in that way, you can only go back to that particular data that you imputed in the first place without any hindrance. And when you say you want to reconfigure, it's just like you saying that you want to flash the phone. That means all information will go
to status quo, to initial.
Okay, so there's no need for actual INEC thinking that they have to reconfigure that particular machine. All they need to do, keep those information there where they are. We inspect the materials as we see. We get the data that we want, and then they continue with their process. Because you and I never knew that during the period of which election would take place, after the first election, INEC will configure the beavers. None of us knew that. It's just like you changing the rules when the game is already on. Okay, so that is where the doubt comes from. But in any case, this will give us opportunity to prove our case beyond reasonable doubt that there were positions in which certain information have been kept away at a particular time when it was needed. And then if they have a contrary view, because already the court and everything, where everybody will know that certain things had happened that we couldn't be able to get to that particular fact that we wanted. But the most important thing is that the documented result, which is actually signed by INEC representative at each of the polling units, are available to all Nigerians to see. And that is exactly what we will tender at the court.
All right, Tanko, we're going to take a break because the party called for nationwide protests if INEC failed to allow it to. We're still here, right here on Politics HQ on News Central. My guest in the studio with me, Tanko Unisa, spokesperson for the Third Force Coalition for the Labour Party, and looking at the call for protests. But that could have changed dimensions given the fact that the party was able to meet with the leadership of the Independent National Electoral Commission today in Abuja. So, Tanko, before I go to asking about whether or not the party is still calling for protests, I have to put it to you. What election materials were you able, was the Labour Party's representatives able to view today at INEC?
INEC chairman promised to release certified true copy of the form EC8, EC9, EC. He mentioned all the E's of the particular election result, which of course he used in terms of the pronunciation of the result on that 25th or in the 26th of February or 27th, as the case may be, because it was a continuous process. He started announcing those results. So therefore, all the material that was used at that point in time are in the possession of INEC headquarters. And he said all other materials that we may require are in the possession of the resident electoral commissioner of each state. So we need to get a schedule where we'll be able to access those particular material within the shortest period of time before the time of which we can present our case in the court. And of course, that will be considered by our team of lawyers led by Dr. Levy at our lawyers' den.
So is the party satisfied enough now to call off the nationwide protest?
That will be determined by the kind of response and the kind of quality of materials that is needed that the lawyers have received thus far. If they have the maximum support that they have satisfied their own, they will tell us in the as a chief spokesman and my other spokesperson, we or other the media will be able to know, and then the decision will be taken by His Excellency Peter Obi and Deti Baba Ahmed as regard to what we need to do next. And then, of course, there is this: we don't own the spontaneous response of the supporters. We can only curtail them, which we have done so far. But it is also in their right also to protest where they see that things are not going in. They have an independent mind. As long as the demonstration or the protest is not run foul the position of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is allowed by law. So we cannot actually impugn on their own personal decision to do. But what we know is that we will definitely, if we are not satisfied, we will definitely go on a non-violent protest.
Interesting enough, the IG of police has said that he has not heard from Labour Party that they want to protest. But we know the position of the Constitution. Nigerians don't legally have to inform the police, don't legally need to seek police permission in order to protest. But what do you make of him saying, okay, Labour has not come to meet us?
Well, he is supposed to perform his duty as the IGP of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Of course, normally provision of the Constitution says I have been a veteran in demonstration. I was the field marshal that led the Save Nigeria group in Abuja. So I'm very well grounded in the issue of actually protest. What we needed to do was to notify him to provide us security so that for those who are already trying to blackmail us and saying that, do we know the consequence of what will end up at the point of if we start a protest, some people may hijack it. But the question you want to ask is that those who put us into this particular situation, do they know the consequence of the psychological trauma and the killing of the psychological minds of the Nigerian youth that they've already murdered? They didn't know the consequence of what they are doing against the Nigerian state, or probably advancing the democracy that we've already earned with a lot of people who lost their lives. Do they know the consequence of what they had done to manipulate and change the process in which everybody have already trusted? For the first time in the history of Nigeria, many people travel from outside the country, which is completely contradictory to what usually happens. People run away from this country when it's time for election. But this particular time, because the Nigerian people have an interest into this election, they came all the way, spending their hard-earned resources back into the country, only to them for them to meet this kind of unbelievable situation that we found ourselves.
So let me put you on the hot seat, because what Labour Party is alleging has to do with electoral malpractices. But there are some who also allege that Labour itself also participated in electoral malpractices.
We are waiting for proof or asking us to say ABC. We have proofs, both documented, and we have people already taking videos. You are a press person. In Lagos here, you saw where our members were ab initio being denied the right to go and even register. That was the beginning of the red flag. They went ahead to destroy billboard. They were not satisfied. They killed our women leader in Kaura in Kaduna State. Not even that. They went ahead again. Anywhere we are coming for campaign, they deny us using of public spaces that we ought to use. Then, not that again. When we came to Lagos, there was direct attack. Physical direct attack on our members. You saw that, and they were being stabbed, knives, and all of those ones. Not to even say the killing that took place. Then to the crescendo of all was the day of the election, where somebody can come openly and say you cannot vote for anybody if you come from a particular ethnic group. Or if you're not voting for this particular party, you will not vote in this particular, in the presence of our security agencies. How bad could it have been? So, but then, can anybody tell us or report where Labour Party or any member of the Labour Party has committed this kind of similar heinous crime against the state? Let me give you an example. I am from Kano State. From Kano State, even though I grew up in Lagos, when you go to Kano State, nobody was attacked. Everybody went about his duty and then they were voting. In Anambra, there was similar thing. Where we have our people, there was no any attack on anybody. Only in Lagos that we had that particular thing. And it is proven fact. So if they have the proof of saying that they are saying that we manipulate, let them show us. I saw them saying one particular video of a dummy picture where old women were dancing and stamping it. That was just a sample of actually how to vote. If you can prove that and saying that it's not, you see them, it's that all women were just, they were showing them the processes of the election. And then, of course, the propagandists of this particular opposition political party took to the media and said, no, this is how Labour Party. Come on, it's so funny and childish for anybody who wants to prove there was election malpractices by the Labour Party. We have an organic support. Okay. Organic support. So
I want to come back to a trust issue, and that's because there are over about 170,000 polling unit results so far now for the presidential and National Assembly elections. They've been upvoted. BVAS reconfiguration is supposed to at least conclude by tomorrow to give us an idea that, yes, everything is set for Saturday. Do you have faith in Inec to handle Saturday's elections to a place where there will be potential for them to regain the faith of the Nigerian voter?
You know, Inec did extremely well by advancing the processes of the election. We had a very bad situation where the collation center used to be a big problem. It was a shark that swallowed almost everybody. And they eliminated it so quickly using the Electoral Act. And then the BVAS machine, not even BVAS machine, it's another machine that they use, the accreditation machine and all. And the election that took place in Edo, Ondo, and Ekiti and all of those were similarly cool. And many people did not even bother because that was what built the trust. Unfortunately, they shattered it within a short period on the presidential election. Here we are as an opportunity on the 18th, as the case may be. Now, the processes in which Inec has given, because many people have been, many lawyers have been doubting that no, Inec has, according to section the right to conduct the election in the way it's deemed fit.
The manner prescribed.
But at the same time, in the manner prescribed, when they did the prescription, they prescribed a law in which they buried and then they destroyed. They prescribed the position on which all of us agreed to. And then later on you said no. It was not prescribed by Yunus Tanko or Peter Obi or Dati Baba Ahmed. It was pronounced by the chairman of Inec and even documented. Okay, so that means that particular pronouncement becomes the law in which that every one of them must be guided. So here we are. If on the 18th, INEC is supposed to conduct this same election with the provisions in which they are put in place for every Nigerian to see, they need to follow those suits. They need to ensure that what you voted for is what you see as a result. And here, with all due respect to all of our members, please and please, the Nigerian situation is in your hands. Do not sit back at home to say probably what happened in the on the 25th is going to deter you or you are going to destroy it. What you are destroying is the future of this particular country. What you need to do is actually double down on that particular election of the 25th and come out en masse. Because if we do not have this particular situation of the 25th, we will not be able to be challenging INEC. I wouldn't be doing the vuvuzela here and talking everything. Yeah, I wouldn't be talking because, quite honestly, I would have sat back at home because we have already given room for anybody to manipulate the system. Don't give them opportunity to manipulate the system. Come out. It is your right. Nobody can intimidate you. You have the right as a people to vote for the person you want. And we want to suggest that while we try to provide our independent security to make sure that you go in a cluster movement, come out in mass. Nobody can intimidate you. And after all, the position of the law is very, very clear. The moment there is an uprising or any situation at any polling unit,
voting stops.
It's voting stop. Simple matter. So it must be done in consonance with the provision of the law. So don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Come out en masse and come and vote for the candidate of yourself. And I believe